criminalized by such laws and by such attitudes. Because as lawyers, can't we give views on what we think about certain things? This law does exactly that. And we were on the list of people promoting homosexuality for doing what we are doing this. So legal response, legal discussing this and saying that LGBT rights are protected, that is promotion in this law. Already that NGO Bureau is investigating us for that. So that's what we did in Kasese, and Parliament called it promotion.
Okay,
so
thank you very much. Yeah.
Code, what? LGBT, there is a community in this country called so. And yet you go ahead in your own presentation and define homosexuality as a crime. I find that very, very contradictory. You know very well that this is actually a crime. And now you are calling people who participate in that crime a community. Does that make sense? Because I just want to be assisted. You went ahead and said that the penal code provides, there is a law which provides, it prohibits. You go ahead and detailed it. Then in the other language, you are calling it a community. Like you said, there is a community of rapists. There is a community of thieves. And their rights are rising out of this association of a community of an act that is already specifically prohibited by the law. Do you find that contradictory? That's number one. Number two, when you mix the Constitution and rights, then you go ahead and justify that actually it is okay for these people to come together, but it is okay for these laws to be on our law books. That is also contradictory. Let us talk now as lawyers. You are saying you are targeting. Of course, this law seeks to target. There is no doubt about that. But it is not targeting innocent people. It is targeting people who are assumed to have committed a crime under our law. All laws target, but good laws are blind laws. You enact them, and whoever comes into their way, you become their victim. So we are not enacting a law that is targeting Dr. Juko or Dr. So-and-so. We are enacting a law that is criminalizing an activity, like indeed you can criminalize theft, and anybody who steals gets in conflict with the law. Let us look at the law again. The Constitution. The Constitution bans same-sex marriages, correct? Yes. And you reiterate it. As lawyers, can you assist me? I happen to have gone to law school too. What is the sine qua non of a marriage?
What does the word mean, Honorable? What is sine qua non in simpler terms?
Just do your definition. If you are talking about a marriage, the biggest ingredient of a marriage does include sex. People marry to have sex and procreate. People marry, but that is among others. But that's the biggest. But among others. When we unconstitutionalized same-sex marriage, can I tell you, get the benefit of reading the Hansard during the constitutional amendment process. It will tell you the reason. The person talking to you is actually the one who moved that motion of prohibiting same-sex marriages. And let me tell you,
Honorable Basman, please stop distracting Honorable.
Here is Honorable Zindana, Honorable Katuntu, and this is the submission. And in addition, when we say marriage is lawful only if entered into between a man and a woman, this one relates reasonably to obligation and rights of those people who are supposed to be marrying each other, such that none of them can now seek a remedy. They say, no, you are in unlawful marriage, therefore you cannot come up for example, to court and seek any right or responsibility. This is what it will entail. Therefore, it allows non-lawful marriages if, for example, if there is no conflict between them. And now this is the chairperson of the committee of the whole house. You therefore want to make it punishable? And this is the answer, exactly. And eventually we went on, and the House adopted the amendment to ban same-sex marriages. So, the issue about same-sex marriages relates to even same-sex. Because you see, if you are interpreting a constitution, don't narrow it. Why would anybody ban same-sex marriages if he was not banning same-sex relationship? Why? And the person who did it is right here. It's right here. So to me, if you want to isolate sex from marriage, then you have a problem. So the constitution you are talking about actually takes away the right of same sex. It takes it away by banning same-sex marriage. Don't say it because we are the one who moved it, personally. You weren't there. Don't interpret what I intended. And if you want to say, you know, when the courts are saying what was the intention of the legislature, the people who intended it are actually here. You get it? So this is why I'm telling you that we intended to ban same-sex relationship, and we went ahead and banned it, and actually unconstitutionalized it. Madam Chair, there is this issue, and my friend has overburdening the police. Let us not speculate. Why? You mean this parliament is not going to enact any other law because we think the police is overburdened? Well, where is the evidence that the police is overburdened? You put the evidence here. And the police says, no, we are now overwhelmed. We cannot investigate criminality. There is no evidence to that effect. And Parliament cannot sit here. You are talking legislature. Please stop legislating. Police is already overburdened. That's the sort of legal argument I'm getting from lawyers. Stop legislating. Police is overburdened. I mean, why are we here as Parliament? We cannot stop legislating. We will, and because that's our duty, and we are paid exactly to do that. What we cannot do, and listen to an argument that Parliament stop working. Why? There is too much work for the police. Lastly, Madam Chair, we have got what we call special laws, and the lawyers know this. If you come to all the tax, crimes and issues related to tax, we put them together in the Tax Procedure Code, a one-stop center law that governs the entire. If you come to environment, we put all those things in one law, code, name, and so on, and even created offenses related to protection of the environment within that specific law. I think, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, what the mover is saying, this homosexuality, what he says is a vice. We are yet to see whether it's a vice, but we have already listened to him. He wants to put everything together so that if you are talking about issues of homosexuality, you don't start looking for penal code here, penal code there, penal code there. You just go to one piece of legislation. So there is nothing wrong in law to have one legislation that deals with everything related to a particular aspect. It makes it even easier for you who are legal practitioners. So that today, if you want to talk about homosexuality, you just pick one piece of legislation and everything is contained therein. Where I agree with you are issues of definitions. If you want us to define procurement, we will. And maybe we ask the mover, please go ahead and define them. Because we don't want any vagueness. And the reason why we don't want any vagueness, Dr. Ju, is because it is subject to another interpretation by courts which we never intended. Because we give courts an option to legislate. They start now defining the words for us. So it's better we go ahead and define them. And what we mean, what we intended, such that there is no room for anybody to say, I think this is what the legislators intended. So I agree with you. Many of those words which are vague, I think
that required clarity. And I took the advice of the committee, and I'm working on it, and I gave assurance to the committee that words that seemed to be vague, that seemed to be broad, that lacked clarity, we will clarify them for purposes of making the penal provisions amenable to the situation. That I undertook, and we are going to do.
Okay, Madam Chair, as I conclude, I see clause, I think it's about clause 13. When you say this is already provided for by the Constitution. Again, let's speak as lawyers. Is the Constitution self-executing? Is it? Is the Constitution self-implementing? It doesn't. And that's what the law is. If there's a provision of the Constitution, then you need another law that implements it. And that also goes to the bill itself. When the bill says they are supplementing, you are not supplementing. Actually, you are not. It is about implementation of a particular clause of the Constitution. So the Constitution is never self-implementing, never self-executing. You need to enact a law that implements the provisions of the Constitution. And I thought this was a basic law. So we cannot plead that, it's already provided for in the Constitution. About the worry of professionals being counseling, legal services, that cannot be. Because you see, lawyers are already protected by the law. But if you want us to include, we can specifically include it. But that does not mean say that we will not legislate because we fear that lawyers would be representing people being accused of homosexuality will also be convicted, also accused. No. But we can also exactly put it in the law if you want that protection. But that does not make it, you're talking about constitutionality? I think Fox and Honorable Chair, I conclude, but looks like a Fox and Honorable Sally went to the school at the same time.
The Honorable Katun, to please conclude.
The Ombudsman went to law school 30 years after I left.
Then, lastly, is about clause 12.
Honorable Basaliwa, please limit your commercial breaks. Can we go ahead? Honorable Katun, to please conclude.
Yeah, sure, I should. It's about the brothels. You see, there are already laws in on our statute books that prohibit promotion of criminal activity. They're already there. It's not this is not a reinvention of the wheel. They're already in place. However, we can make it clearer, clause 12, to make sure that their worry is catered for. And lastly, I think, colleagues, if you are lawyers, advise us how we can make the law better, other than raising issues that does not make this process better or the legislation better, but to have a necessary legislation not in place. It will not help.
Thank you, Honorable.